Hello everyone. Today we are going to see next part of Dbms, that is Introduction to Database Design and ER Diagrams. So for that, in order to study database design, we need to move on to the steps that are provided in order to have this database design. So let us focus on what are the phases or what are the steps in database design. So actually these are divided into 6 steps. First one is requirement analysis, second one is conceptual database design, third one is logical database, fourth one is schema refinement, fifth one is physical database design, and sixth one is logical security design. So these are the 6 phases. In short, I am going to explain what are the each phase. First one is requirement analysis. As you all know that before going for any design, first requirement phase is very important, right? So in this requirement analysis, we focus what are the requirements that are needed for designing a database. First, gather all the requirements that are needed for this. In second phase, that is conceptual database design, here by considering the design or by considering the things that are needed for in requirement analysis, we will establish a relationship between those things. So in conceptual design, we will be designing and establishing relationship between the objects or entities that we have taken. So for that, in conceptual design, to design, we will take help of ER model. Next is logical database design. In logical database design, when we have taken ER diagram, which is in the form of diagrammatic representation of databases, collection of entities and attributes that are taken in second phase, those things are converted into relational model in logical database design. You know that relational model uses tables. What are these tables? Tables are used to store data. So conceptual design is then converted into logical database design by using tables. So finally, I want to say that in logical database design, we use tables to store data. In these tables, we also establish relationship between those tables. Fourth one is schema refinement. What is schema? We have studied earlier. What is schema? Schema is representation of data, how it should be, right? So once data is provided in the table, there should not be any redundancy. What is redundancy? Repetition of data. So we know that when we store much more information in tables, sometimes unknowingly or knowingly we will be storing some data repeatedly, right? So here, in order to remove redundancy, we will be doing schema refinement, right? So schema refinement has some steps to do. We will be seeing in the fourth unit how schema refinement is done in order to remove redundancy. Generally, we will be using normal forms to remove all the redundancy and anomalies. Fifth one is physical database design. So here we are not much bothered about physical database design because it deals with how data is stored in the physical storage or how data is stored in tapes or disk or in what type of data structures are used. So total about storage, it is seen in physical database. And next one is application and security design. Application, how applications will be provided by this database design, and once we have designed this database, how to what extent it provides security will be explained in this. So as you know that the security levels of Dbms is higher than file system, and I have also said that security levels are in level based. Each level, for some people you can give some security access, for some people for some users you can give some security access. So level based it will be. So once we have seen all the 6 phases of database design, we will be switching on to ER model. Do you remember where we will be discussing this ER model? Yes, conceptual design database. So here in conceptual database design, we will be knowing how data is taken and how to establish relationship between them. So for that we are using one model, that is ER model. ER stands for entity relation model. So let us see what are the things that are present in this ER model. So this is the basic structure of how to present an entity. E stands for entity. What is entity? Entity is a object, or it is anything anything that can be taken into consideration, right? So for example, employee, student, uh, phone, or any object will be taken as an entity. What are the attributes? Attributes are things or the properties that describe about entity. What are the attributes of student? Student roll number, student name, place, address, phone number, mail ID, all this comes under properties of student. What are attributes of employee? Employee ID, employee name, employee salary, employee address, and so on, right? So attributes discuss about entity, or it describes about properties of entity. So entity is represented in the form of a rectangular box where attributes are represented in ellipse form, right? So next, when we are going to study this ER model, we need to focus on some definitions. We have learned what is entity. We have also learned what is entity set. Sorry, attributes. Now we will be switching on to entity set. We know definition of entity. Entity is real world object, right? So what is entity set? Set means collection of entities. So collection of similar entities is known as entity set, right? So if I collect more than one employee, it comes under entity set. You know, in a company there will be many employees. So collection of all the employees comes under entity set. Example, all employees, right? Each entity has a key. What is this key? We will be focusing on this key later on in our subject. So here I will be saying a small thing, like key will be just as an index. So if I want to search a name, so with what I will be searching, whether by name, whether by his address, whether by his phone number, or whether by his roll number. Yes, I will be searching with his roll number, because roll number is very easy to access and roll number will not be repeated again. Names, yes, it will be repeated. Raju can be in A section, B section, C section. So I won't be taking Raju as my key, right? Addresses, yes, from Hyderabad there will be many people, or from Kukatpalli there will be many students. So address cannot be a key. A key should be one and only once, right? There should not be redundant keys. In the college, the same roll number will not be repeated. In the bank, same account number will be not repeated for any customers. So you must select a key that will not be repeated, or in order to search the records, it should be also easy. So the definition of key is minimal set of attributes whose values are uniquely identified. So if I want to identify a unique record, then I should select a key that it should not be repeated. So the key for student record is roll number. The key for customer in bank is his account number, right? So each attribute, what are these attributes? These are the attributes. So each attribute has a domain, some range value. Domain means some range of values. So as we know that an entity is represented by set of attributes. So we will see how we can express the entity. Example, customer. Customer is entity. What are the attributes? Customer ID, customer name, customer city. You can include according to the information that you have. For loan, again loan number and amount. So as I said, that domain is set of permitted values. What are the, for ID I cannot give Raju, right? ID will be having numbers. For customer name I cannot give any roll number 101A I cannot give. So only permitted values for each attribute. Domain means only permitted values for each attribute. Next one is attribute. We will be focusing on attribute. So what are attributes? Attributes specify the properties of entity. We will be having many types of attributes. What are the types? simple and composite attribute, single valued and multi-valued attributes, derived attributes, right? Simple and composite attributes. Sometimes attribute can be simple or composite. Composite means some set of things that will be added. For example, name. Name can be splitted into, for example, name can be splitted into first name, middle name, last name. This is composite attribute. Generally, if I take only name, sometimes I won't use any composite attribute, then it comes under simple attribute. Next, single valued and multi-valued. Single valued means anything that is having only one value. For example, PAN card number. It is having only for all the customers. Each customer will have only one Aadhaar number. Multi-valued attribute. That means attribute that can have more than one value. That means phone number. Phone number can be of landline number, or each person can have two phone numbers. So that type of attributes comes under multi-valued attributes. Next one is derived attribute. Derived attribute that is derived from another attribute is known as derived attribute. What is derived attribute? Derived attribute, for example, age, where age can be derived from date of birth. So if I give date of birth in the fields, then I can derive age from them. So that comes under derived attributes. So we are having these types of attributes: simple and composite, single valued and multi-valued derived attributes. Next, we will be focusing on ER model, right? So here we have seen that this is an entity and these are attributes. This is an entity and these are attributes. As I said that knowing only entity and attributes is not our work. We must establish relationship between those entity. What we are studying? ER model. E stands for entity, R stands for relation. Till now we have studied what is entity set, and what are attributes and types of attributes. Now we will be seeing how to establish relationship between. What is the relationship between employees and department? Yes, employee works in department. Always relationship is maintained in diamond shape. So we can have also attributes for this relationship. Since, for, we can specify how long he is working. Employees works in since, you can specify date. Department. So relationship, how to establish relationship between employee and department. You can write any name for the relationship. For example, if I have taken, instead of employees, if I have taken student or faculty, teachers, student. So the name of the relationship is teachers, right? So we have a relationship set any, wherever set means collection of something. So I am saying about relationship set. So set is collection of relationship. Okay. So generally we write relationship as E. E stands for relationship. E1, E2, E3 are some set of relationship. So we have studied what is relationship set. When we are studying this relationship set, there are some points that are to be taken into consideration. That is degree of relationship. Degree means how many entities are participated in relationship set, right? So in order to specify, or in order to learn what is the degree of relationship, they are divided into 4 types. What are the 4 types? We will see. First type is one-to-one. So one attribute, one entity is related with, so one of the attribute is related with another attribute of one of the attribute is related with one of the attribute of another table, right? So one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship. So I can ask the question, or we will be getting what are types of mapping cardinalities, or you can also get the question like what are degree of relationship set, mapping cardinalities, or what are the types, right? So one-to-one means each entity is associated with each entity, or each attribute is associated with each attribute. One-to-many means one attribute is associated with many attributes of entities of another table. So one-to-many means some elements of A are not mapped with some other elements. So here, see here,